Welcome to Learning Impact on Demand 2020, Solutions for Highly Effective Digital Teaching and Learning in Response to the Accelerated Move to Remote Education. At IMS, we believe in the power of dynamic collaboration as a catalyst for digital innovation and transformation in education. In this spirit, we're bringing together leaders in our community representing top learning institutions and EdTech suppliers to share knowledge and ideas to reimagine the educational experience and explore new opportunities for shaping the future of teaching and learning. Today's topic is optimizing your digital learning environment. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our three panelists. So we have Peter Hanley, Manager of Academic Applications at Temple University, Terry O'Haron, Director of Operations, Teaching and Learning with Technology, the Pennsylvania State University, and Renee Pfeifer-Luckett, Director of Learning Technology Development, the University of Wisconsin System Administration. Thank you for joining us today. So to get started, could we have each of you describe your digital learning ecosystem and how you've prepared for possible hybrid environments or kind of an uncertain fall so the attendees can have a better understanding of your experience. So Renee, if you want to start.
Sure, glad to start. Hello, everybody. I'm sharing my perspective from a large state system, public higher education system. So we thought we'd start off with kind of a bigger picture. And we recently just launched our new digital learning environment, which we call the DLE. It's comprised of 3 enterprise-wide technologies, including Canvas as our hub, Kaltura for meeting management, and Blackboard Collaborate for our web conferencing. There's also more than 70 third-party tools that we've also integrated into the environment, sort of on an ad hoc basis, sometimes one campus, sometimes multiple. But we've put a lot of work into understanding the needs of our constituents, not only our faculty and instructors, but also our students, because they are really critical to make sure that they can navigate around the digital learning environment freely and easily. Because we put so much work into that, we really designed at the outset a very standards-based environment, which I think has served us incredibly well. We took into consideration all modalities of teaching, including face-to-face, online, fully online, hybrid. We've heard a lot about HiFlex, which isn't really a new thing, but it's a different way of looking at how to deliver teaching and learning. So we really kind of came out of the box ready to go. And all of our credit-bearing courses are automatically created. So you can probably imagine how we were holding our breath when everything went to heck in the spring and everyone needed to go online. But luckily we had all the courses there. They were in unpublished state. So the instructor simply needed to add the materials that they needed to share with their students and publish the course, and off they went. So kudos to not only our technology partners for scaling up and being able to accommodate that, but also to all of our faculty and staff and students who kept it going every day and really held it together. So as far as fall, we'll see. We're looking at, each campus is looking at their own sort of approach to how they want to actually deliver courses. So at this point, many campuses have indicated they want to go at least in part face-to-face. So again, from a system perspective, we're not dictating that. That's at the campus level to decide.
Great, thanks. Terry, can you give us a little bit of information about your environment?
Yeah, sure. Similar to like Renee's, our core technology set includes Canvas, of course, and Kaltura for media management. And also here at Penn State, we use Zoom for our video. We too have a plethora of types of different modes of instruction, but what we call mixed mode, that is what we're calling face-to-face and remote synchronous. And actually, due to social distancing in our classrooms, we had to reduce our seating. So actually, not all students are going to be in the classroom face-to-face. The instructors will divide them up, and actually some coming in remote and some coming in face-to-face. As a result of that effort, actually, we've been asked to actually provide minimum Zoom capability in over 1,300 classroom learning spaces across the university. We have 24 campuses, so that's quite a challenge. Also, we actually are expanding our what we call tech tutors and teaching tech TAs, teaching assistants, where actually faculty could have a tech TA actually coming in Zoom to actually help them with the course and actually moderate Q&A via the Zoom chat, and for those students also in the classroom. It's been a tremendous effort here at Penn State, but we have two websites, Keep Learning and Keep Teaching, that actually are, of course, Keep Teaching is specific to faculty, and Keep Learning are specific to students to provide them the various information they need to be successful here at Penn State during this fall.
Great, thanks. And Peter, how about your environment?
Our environment is surprisingly not dissimilar to the other two. We use Canvas as an LMS and Zoom for video conferencing. We have a lot of other tools. We actually have a sort of disparity across the university. The different colleges use different class capture. So we don't have a centralized media management like Kaltura. What we do have, and sort of pre-pandemic and for actually over a decade, we've had over 90% LMS use throughout the campus, so that when the pandemic hit, we actually didn't have a lot of a transition. Everybody, almost, not everybody obviously, but almost every class was already in Canvas, and we already had the Zoom LTI set up. So it was a fairly smooth transition to have people start meeting. I mean, other than the initial questions of, well, how are we going to actually schedule these things? But the schedules got sorted out within a week or two, and people were able to start meeting.
Great. So what are your institution's minimum requirements for a tool to be part of that ecosystem? Peter, do you want to start us?
Sure. So we have the sort of standard two-prong approach of security assessment and accessibility assessment. So of course we require the tool be 508 compliant and accessible. The tool also has to go through a security review of data handling and what their security protocols are with the running of their tool. And then, of course, we also assess it for usability and applicability throughout the campus. So generally what we've been trying to avoid, at least from a central standpoint, is having a lot of tools that are only deployed to one college or the other. We try to find something that can be universally used. Can't always do that, obviously. So we do have some colleges that have idiosyncratic tools, but for the most part, we deploy tools on a university-wide basis.
Great. And Renee, how about at the system level?
Sure. As I talked about the digital learning environment, we also used the IMS Global App Vetting Rubric as a baseline to start thinking about what pieces of the puzzle we wanted to make sure were in place before we brought anything into our digital learning environment. And so we took the app vetting rubric and we sort of turned it around a little bit. One of my colleagues, Dale Johnson, is in charge of that whole piece of it, and he did a great job identifying what key pieces that we wanted to make sure were in place before we even looked at the rest of the tool. So not dissimilar again to Peter, accessibility was number one, data privacy, student data privacy especially, and security are right up there as well. I'd say the third piece is, really that it's technically interoperable and really does adhere to the standards. And we really held the line on that. And I think it's made the community better in some ways, because some vendors finally came along when we said, you know what, you really need to toe the line here on the standards. So those are the three that I think were most important. And I think the approach was, if a tool couldn't pass those three, there really wasn't any point in continuing to look at the rest of the rubric. And later on, I'll be happy to, well, I should say the IMS Global members have access to that rubric that we developed, and I will share some other integration information later on.
Great, thank you. And Terry?
Well, just like Renee and Peter, the same here at Penn State, of course, accessibility, security, and interoperability and standards. But I would just add, in regard to our environment here, an additional requirement is that there has to be user support and training materials as well as knowledge-based articles. So a lot of these users can actually go at their own pace and not have it to rely on a person to talk to, like the IT service desk or things like that. So just the end user experience and having that information available at their fingertip to allow them to be successful, I would just say, is the fourth component.
Great. So how is your ecosystem removing barriers for faculty and helping to support that student success at your campus? So Terry, you touched on it a little bit about that user experience, but can you expand a little bit?
Well, yeah, we try to, of course, again, use a vetting process, but to make it easier for faculty to actually request software and all that. And I'll talk about this a little later about our courseware process. But the bottom line is communicating with our users and making sure that they know what's available. We have over 21 learning tools that are integrated with our Canvas system, and we have them published on our Canvas website. So the bottom line is that we want to make sure that people understand and are aware what's available via our ecosystem here at Penn State, and that they have access to the information.
Great. How about for you, Renee?
I would say that, looking at barriers for the faculty, typically in our old system, we had a multi-instance model of our learning management system. So every campus had their own instance of the LMS. Now we're in a one instance model, and that has really opened up an amazing amount of flexibility and some standardization as well. But it's removed a lot of the barriers for faculty to be able to collaborate across institutions. We have 13 in the UW system, 13 4-years, and then 13 partners campuses as well that are the 2-year. So, to have actionable data is the other piece I really want to bring up, because with the one instance model, we're able to really look at the data across all of our institutions. Before, it was all in little containers and we couldn't get to it. So really important to be able to have that actionable data at our fingertips. And that's our big project this fall, is to get that data in the hands of faculty and students. So I would say, having that standards-based one instance model has really removed a lot of barriers for our faculty.
Wonderful. And how about for you, Peter?
All right. I think that there's a lot of ways to approach this question. I think that part of it is that we do digital onboarding very fast. The high uses of the LMS and the other tools in all classes get students up to speed pretty quickly. And then our Center for the Advancement of Teaching is also, especially now, very aggressively offering a lot of education for faculty to help have a sort of coherent experience for the students across their classes.
Great. So all of you kind of mentioned some things you've worked on. So how are you meeting those diverse needs of faculty while still maintaining that secure environment that's such a requirement? So Terry, if you want to expand on what you started to talk about.
We have a courseware website here at Penn State. We have actually reviewed or in the process of reviewing over 300 plus learning tools. And part of that is use, of course, outside of our Canvas LMS environment, and also can be authorized to be integrated with Canvas. We did this process in order to expedite actually the authorization process for actually using third-party learning tools. It used to be a cumbersome process. It might take anywhere 3 to 6 months. Now with this process, we use a courseware FERPA agreement that addresses security, accessibility, and of course FERPA requirements. And if vendors agree to sign that agreement, it's a relatively quick process. And then if the integration is requested, then goes through a vetting process there in regard to, again, security, LTI standards, or if it's APIs are required to be accessed, we require them to use a scoping process with the instructor in regard to the use of our system. And we also have an LTI addendum that we ask our partners to sign in conjunction with the CFA, the courseware FERPA agreement, if they actually want to integrate the product with Canvas. Also, I would add that part of our success strategy is we have an IT loaner program, primarily to assist students that have needs for mobile hotspots where they don't have access to broadband in their area here in the state of Pennsylvania. or we can actually also loan them iPads or laptops. And also part of our strategy to make our classrooms Zoom capable, a lot of our faculty use whiteboards. So in regard to a face-to-face remote synchronous environment, it's a little hard to see a whiteboard. So we're actually providing iPads and pencils to faculty that want them to utilize them in the classroom as a way to a digital alternative, digital annotation in regard to supplementing a whiteboard in the classroom. So that's basically what we're doing here at Penn State in regard to that area.
That's great. Renee, how about at your area?
Sure. Again, you know, Terry hit it right on the head with the addendum, using an addendum for the security piece and to ensure a lot of other pieces as well. But, you know, kind of riffing on that one instance model a little bit, talking about the diverse needs of faculty, because we used what we're calling a fixed flexible model when we implemented the digital learning environment. Certain parts of the environment are fixed, meaning maybe the order of the Canvas nav bar doesn't change, even though technically you could adjust the nav bar and move the buttons around and such. We took a different approach. We kept pieces of that fixed, if you will, so that additional tools can be added. That's the flexible piece. But certain aspects, we think, not only does it make it more secure, but really we did this with students in mind. We did a lot of needs analysis and heard students loud and clear that they wanted an environment that they could, you know, navigate easily and take classes from different institutions within our system and not have it be disparate and look different and feel different and nav different. So we really did look at that consistency in that fixed piece, not only in sort of the tools, but also in the way we do our integrations, in the way that we manage our data, and the way that we do our procurement. So all of those are sort of, we consider those are fixed aspects. Really lowers the technology barriers. It really drives consistent experiences for the user, and also supports a lot of administrative efficiencies, obviously. But the flexible part, though, is really that's critical. You really need to have that in order to support the diverse needs of faculty, like you asked about, Kelly. You know, having that flexibility to be open and active and adaptive, and we need those kinds of flexibilities for competency-based programs that we are offering, different learning strategies that are coming out and, you know, emerging out of this COVID situation. So, you know, our approach is a little bit fixed, but a lot of it flex as well. And I think that that really does address the needs.
Great, thanks. And how about at your institution, Peter?
Well, I'd say we're a little, maybe arguably a little less flexible. We have we've shut off the App Store in Canvas, and we require that apps be vetted. However, that being said, we are very willing to work with faculty and departments when they request tools, and we do our best to get tools vetted and through as fast as possible. We haven't really had too many things that I would think of would be disasters. You know, think people need a tool, we get it done by the time they need it, and everything's good. We have been working a little bit on a system that sounds kind of like Terry's courseware system, where it would be sort of more pre-vetted apps that are not installed on the system that people can select from and have them installed into their class without having to, you know, put in a trouble ticket or something like that. Yeah.
Great. I think you guys are all doing a good job of balancing the diverse needs at our campuses, as well as still meeting the needs that you have kind of to make sure your environment is what it needs to be. So kind of wrap up our conversation today, what's your one piece of advice you would share with your colleagues? Renee, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I would say that, you know, standards are what lead to actionable data. And I know that a lot of people and a lot of folks out there are struggling with the data piece. And I just want to assure them that standardization makes it a heck of a lot easier. So that would be my piece of advice.
Great, thanks. And Peter?
My piece of advice would be actually to join the IMS and get involved in the working groups that matter to you. And, you know, once your institution joins, everybody can join technically. I mean, that won't happen, but a lot of people could, and your institution can get involved with the things that are actually going to directly affect us in the coming years. So join the IMS, get involved.
Thank you. And Terry?
Of course, agree totally with Renee and Peter said, but I would also just add, we have a lot of vendors, partners that actually come to us as a result of wanting their products to be used here at Penn State, but I think it's a partnership. Some of these vendors don't even realize IMS exists, and some of these standards that are available that not only make our lives easier here at Penn State and expedite the integration process, it also helps the vendors. So we truly try to talk and explain to the vendors the benefits of the IMS standards, primarily LTI, and how it not only benefits higher education and the various customers that they actually want to get their products used by, it benefits them as well. And it's a great partnership if you can truly get the vendors to actually buy into IMS. And I think it's an easy answer, yes, once you go do that.
Great. Thank you for that information. I think you are accurate that the power of the community is what's really going to help this environment. You know, it's all the tide rises all about. So if we can really work together, I think that's helpful. So thanks so much for sharing your information today and your knowledge and resources. I appreciate you taking the time to do it. So thank you.